Well, welcome back again to another analysis behind the news. They tell us that the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a done deal now. Negotiations are over. They just have to do a little rewrite and touch up, and it'll be ready to send to Obama, who will send it to the Congress, who won't read it and will be pressured into passing it. Now, if you like the Iran deal negotiated by Obama, you're going to love the TPP, because some of the same sort of things are going on with this pact just as the Iranian pact. In other words, certain aspects, they've told us, are going to remain secret for 4 years. Now, if you were asked to sign a contract or any kind of an agreement with someone, and they told you that some of it's going to be secret, you can't see it, you have to vote on it, but you can't see it for 4 years, would you vote for something like that? And yet that is what they're asking the Congress to do and the American people to support. Now, there's an interesting aspect of this that I find rather humorous. For instance, this is an article out of the Wall Street Journal, and it shows a dairyman in a, with his cows in the background and that sort of thing in New Zealand. And it says New Zealand wants to boost exports of its dairy products under the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, that's kind of funny, because how do you have dairymen in the United States and dairymen in New Zealand and dairymen all over thinking they're going to be able to sell more dairy products because of this pact? It doesn't work that way. Same with cattlemen in Australia and cattlemen in Kansas. One of them is going to lose. And I don't have to think too long about which one that's going to be. But you see, these trade deals they don't necessarily mean that you in Kansas are going to sell more. We were going to have better industry and everything else as a result of NAFTA. It's cost us over 10 million industrial jobs. They keep telling us that it's going to be better, it's going to be better. All you have to do is get involved in these trade deals, and we're going to sell more of this, we're going to have more of that, it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be better, and we keep losing jobs and sovereignty. And we'd better wake up to this real quick, because signing these deals, quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, bottom line, if we are selling sovereignty for a trade deal, in my book, that's treason, because you're literally selling the country. You're selling the Declaration of Independence. You're selling the Constitution. You're selling the independence of the American people for a good business deal. That does not work well in the long run, nor did NAFTA. These are very dangerous agreements, and the people pushing them behind the scenes are pretty much controlled through the Council on Foreign Relations and that sort of thing, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or the Business Roundtable or any number of them. And it's astonishing how ignorant some of the congressmen are of the issue of sovereignty. The issue of trade, oh, they love it, more jobs. These things have never brought about more jobs. We're also, it's the same thing that they tell us that communism is dead. And yet you get articles like this, again in the Wall Street Journal, and it's just a picture story. It's not really an article that goes along with it. But it says this is an angry woman, you can't see it. She's shaking her fist at the police in India. And it's in Calcutta. They don't call it quite that anymore. At any rate, they say, law and order, a Communist Party of India activist shouts at police officers in Calcutta during a march demanding that police uphold the law. Thousands of party members blocked roads in the city. So in other words, these communist parties, thousands of Communist Party members, went out into the streets and blocked the roads, performing an illegal act to demand that the police uphold the law. Now, I'm not sure which law that they're demanding that they uphold, but if you're creating lawlessness to supposedly uphold the law. That doesn't seem to quite compute. At any rate, just an innocuous little thing. Thousands of Communist Party members. You see, India's Communist Party is the third largest party in India, and it controls certain states. Governors of states in India are members of the Communist Party. That's why India is a member of BRICS, you know, that coalition between Brazil, Russia, South Africa, India, and China. And so they are very much involved in the communist movement, which is supposedly dead. But here we see that sort of thing just kind of crop up in the paper. And when you notice those things, it becomes very startling if you thought communism was dead. But of course, those of us in the John Birch Society have been trying to tell people for years, it's not dead, it's thriving under new names. In India, it is the Communist Party. In China, it is the Communist Party. In other areas, they call it the New Democrats or something of that nature. Something else that I saw that just about floored me was in USA Today. And it was an article posted on the front page about Planned Parenthood, how the American people support Planned Parenthood in poll. That's what the title says, Planned Parenthood supported in poll. Ostensibly, this is a poll taken to show that Americans support Planned Parenthood in the face of certain Republican congressmen trying to cut funding for Planned Parenthood. Some of them are even willing to shut down the government to do it, but Boehner and those sorts of guys have averted the disaster, and they've decided they're going to fund all this stuff anyway in the name of keeping the country going. But the funny thing is, it quotes individuals from the poll. Now, aren't these polls supposed to be anonymous? Aren't these polls taken with just a certain number of people randomly, supposedly? And yet you have quotes like this of the people that are quoted. Basically, we're defunding women's health care, says Erica Rainey, 32, a business consultant from Los Angeles, who was among those surveyed. It furthers the issue that women still don't have equal rights in the United States. So you know she's just an average person that they just dialed randomly on the phone. When you say things like that, you are an activist. This is not a normal poll, but it's done and scripted in such a way to make you think that people support Planned Parenthood when reality is people just don't want the government shut down. That's really what they're saying. Some other things, too, that are kind of interesting, and this one here is kind of humorous. It says, gun ownership tied to mass shootings. Now, this is a article designed to get you to be for gun control, taking guns away from people in the name of these mass shootings. But gun ownership tied to mass shootings? Gee, is it surprising that the people that perform mass shootings happen to own the guns that they use? I mean, it's just so silly, some of these things. But again, it's trying to get you to stand still for the laws such as they have in Australia and places of that nature. These laws, they don't detail them there. They just say as a result of these new laws, mass shootings have gone down. Well, what they don't tell you is that they told people you have to turn in your guns. And the Australians did, by the hundreds of thousands. And they destroyed all those weapons. So everybody, at least legally, are disarmed in Australia. They can't defend themselves. They can't defend their homes. They can't defend their neighborhoods. They're defenseless now in the face of any kind of violence, including mass shootings, because they no longer are allowed to own guns. And there are video on YouTube that you can go and access and look up Australian gun confiscation, and you'll see huge piles of guns being destroyed that people just dutifully came in and turned over their weapons to the government. A very dangerous sort of thing. We have the Second Amendment. Why? Because we have the Second Amendment to defend ourselves not only from crime, but from our own government. What had the American people done just before the passage of the Constitution? They'd had a war of independence against their own government because their own government had become draconian, and they understood that, yes, I have the right to keep and bear arms to defend myself from anything, including my government. If that's an extremist comment, our founders were extremists. Until next week, we'll see you then.